Before I talk about what compound interest is, let's just look at this example. This is actually a review of lesson 1.1. Okay. Miles West invests $5,000 in a financial institution at 6% per annum. Annum just means year. Simple interest that we've already talked about. How much interest is he going to have at the end of 3 years? So what's the formula again? The interest will equal PRT. What's the P in this case? 5,000. That's how much that principal, how much you invest. What's R? As a decimal, the rate, yes, 0.06. And the time, 3 years. And if we did that, it works up to $900. Which basically means that he gets 300 every year. So at the end of the first year, we calculate the interest, he gets 300 bucks. The end of the second year, he gets another 300. The end of the third year, he gets another 300. He's made a total of 900. Okay. Compound interest, though, is a little bit different. You don't get the same interest every year. You actually get a little more each year because it takes the money that you got from interest, puts it back into the investment, which means there's a bigger amount to calculate interest on. So it's called like interest on the interest. And this will make sense if I do this. Let's have a look here. Almost the identical question, except it says compounded annually. That means we're going to do a slightly different thing. We're not using the simple interest formula. Okay, so at the end of year 1, his interest, like let's say he just invested for 1 year. It's 5,000 times 6% or 0.06 times 1 year. And that's $300. And that makes sense. That's okay. What's the total amount of investment now after 1 year? $5,300. This is what we're going to calculate interest on in the second year. So at the end of year 2, we're not going to calculate interest on the 5,000 because he's got 5,300 in there. So we're going to calculate the interest on 5,300, which means he's going to get a little more. So if we did 5,300 times 0.06 times 1, we don't even have to write the times 1. We get $318. He makes a little bit more in interest. What's the total amount in his investment now? 5,000. Remember, he's got this amount, and we just got this, 5,618. And he kept it in for 3 years, so we got to do interest one more time. But I'm not going to calculate interest on 5,000 because he's got 5,618 in there, right? He's got more than 5,000 because he made money. So 5,618 times 6% times 1, because it's only 1 year. And that will give us $337.08. Notice he made a little bit more interest. How much is his total amount now? Well, it's 5,618 that he had at the end of year 2, plus the interest that he got at the end of year 2, gives me a total amount of $5,955.08. So how much interest did he make? Well, he made 300 the first year. He made 318 the second year. He made $337.08 the third year. So his interest, he made a total of $955.08. Whereas with the simple interest above, he only made $900. So what's the lesson here? When you invest, you want compound interest. When you borrow, you ideally want simple interest. Because when you invest, you want the maximum amount of money. But when you borrow, you want to pay the minimum amount. Okay? So that's what compound interest does. Simple interest just calculates interest on the 5,000. Compound calculates interest and the investment, interest and the investment. So you always get a little bit more. Fortunately, we don't have to do a big table like this. There's a formula. Okay. And this is a formula that you will always get and you can always refer to, so you don't have to remember it. And the formula looks like this. Capital A equals capital P times 1 plus R divided by N raised to the N times T. What do all these others mean? A is your amount of, well, investment if you invested money, or loan if you borrowed money. So that's the total amount. Whatever you invested and whatever interest you got, or whatever you borrowed and whatever interest they charged you. P is still the same as we did before, it's the principal. Or in other words, it's the original amount. R is still the same. It's the interest rate. But when we do calculations with it, we always want it as decimal. N, that's new. It's the number of compounding periods. What that means in a year. If something is compounded annually, interest is calculated once a year at the end of the year. If interest is compounded semi-annually, interest is calculated twice a year, halfway through the year and at the end of the year. If it's compounded monthly, how many times would interest be calculated in a year? 12. If it's compounded daily, 365, etc. So before I say T, that's what these refer to. So annually, once per year, so the value of N is 1. Semi-annually is twice per year, so the value of N is 2. How many times for quarterly? 4 times a year. 4 times per year, so N is 4. Bi-weekly, that means every second week. How many times would that be? How many years or how many weeks are there in a year? 52. So how many 2-week periods would be in a year? Half of 52, right? 26. So bi-weekly would be 26 times a year, or N would be 26. Weekly, well, every week would be 52 times per year, so it'd be 52. And daily would be 365 times per year, so N would be 365. Usually, we're doing these ones, or even monthly. We don't look too much at the bi-weekly or weekly. And then finally, back up here for the formula, T is the number of years. Right? So it's really just a matter of recognizing which value is which variable and then doing proper order of operations when we calculate. So let's do a couple of examples with this formula. So we've got Miles, 5,000 again, investing 6% per annum compounded annually. Well, we already found the answer to this on the first page, but watch how the formula allows us to get it much quicker. So remember, A is equal to P times 1 plus R divided N raised to the N times T. Principal is 5,000. R is 0.06. N is 1 because it's compounded annually, which means once per year. N is 1 here, and then T, well, it's invested for 3 years. So now it's just a matter of doing proper order of operations. So let's simplify what's inside the parentheses first. Well, 0.06 divided 1 is 0.06. And 1 times 3 is 3. I can add the two numbers in parentheses and get 1.06 to the 3. Now I'm ready to use my calculator. Remember, proper order of operations. Do this first, exponents first, then times that answer by 5,000. And you should get the amount of your investment and the interest you made. And you should get 595508. Is that right? Yeah. Remember, this amount that you calculated is the principal and the interest. If I want to know just what the interest is, how would I find that? Well, I take the total amount I got, 5,955.08, and subtract how much I invested. And notice we got the same answer as when we did it the long way. $955.08. So we're not done when we're here because the question asks us find the interest. Any questions? Again, it's just a matter of using the formula correctly, substituting everything in. Same situation here, except quarterly. That means N is 4, not 1. That's the only thing that's going to change in the formula. So everything else is the same. The principal is still $5,000 times 1 plus the interest rate is still 0.06, but N has now changed to 4. And because N changed to 4 here, it also changes to 4 here, which is going to change our exponent. And now we just calculate. So if I do 0.06 divide 4 on my calculator, I should get 0.015. And then the exponent is going to be 4 times 3, which is 12. So therefore, add the two numbers in parentheses, and I get 1.015 raised to the 12th. And now you can do your calculation. Raise 1.015 to the 12th, times it by 5,000, round it correctly to 2 decimal places, because remember, we're talking money. Anybody, what? 5,978 $59. Now remember, we're not done yet because that's the principal and the interest. So to find just the interest, we have to take the total amount we just got, subtract the amount we invested. That means we made $978.09. Notice this amount, when we compounded quarterly, is even a little bit higher. The more times you calculate interest, the higher your amount's going to be. So here we just did it once. Here we did it 4 times a year. If you did it monthly, you'd make even more. Finally, a common question we get: how long do you think it would take to double your money? Yeah, so like if I invested 5,000 for 3 years at this. I got almost 6,000 after 3 years. How many years do you think I'd have to invest for so my total amount would work out to somewhere around 10,000? Double my money. Obviously, it's got to be more than 3 years. What do you think? Take a guess. 6 years? 9 years? You think 11? So I got 6, 9, 11. So if we calculate 6, so that means this is going to be 6. So it's going to be 1.015 raised to the 24 times 5,000. A little over 7,100. I'm not even halfway there yet.
That's at 6?
That's at 6. So maybe let's try 11. So if 11 was here, so I'd have to do 0.06 divide 11 plus 1. And then I would have to raise that to the 44th. And then times that by 5,000. Well, that's really wrong. What did I do wrong? Because I got a lower amount. That doesn't make any sense. Oh, wait, I did the wrong thing. Hang on. 1.015 raised to the 44th. There we go, that's it. Oh, you're almost there. It's 1.9, it's almost double. So it's really close. It's over 9,600 for 11 years. So what do you think would actually get you over double? 13 or even possibly 12, right? So 12 years to double your money. Which is actually accurate, and it's based on, it's based on something called the rule of 72. Okay. If your interest rate, not as a decimal, times your number of compounding periods, okay, is equal to 72, that means you're going to double your money. Okay, and this should be 24 that way. 3 times 4 is not 72. 3 times 24 is 72. Okay. So if the interest, oh no, sorry, it's not the compounding periods, it's just the number of years, my mistake. Okay. So it's going to be rate times number of years equals 72. You double your money. Okay. So R is rate as a percent. Don't change it to decimal. And T is time in years. So if we go back to that previous example, we said 12 years, right? What was the interest rate? 6%. 12 times 6, 72. So it works. It's not going to be perfectly double, but it's pretty close. What's that? Okay. Did you guys get your photos done?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. I'm just going to finish this last example here. So yeah, I'm going to assign 1.2 for next class. And then we'll do 1.3 Thursday. Friday will be a work period. So. Okay, so Ernest Dollar invests $4,000 at an interest rate of 6%. Using the rule of 72, estimate how many years it will take his investment to double. Well, remember, R times T is equal to 72. Any of you know R? R is the rate of interest. Do you know it? What's the interest rate? 6. We don't know T. But we know that 6 times T has to equal 72. So we just solve. Divide 72 by 6. And you're going to get about 12 years. Okay. It's a very simple formula. And like I said, so it's just used in cases, special cases where it's being compounded annually and you want to know how long it takes to double your money, because that's often something that people want to know. I don't know why. And finally, just a couple of things here. Interesting. And I'm not going to read through this everything here, but it just talks about deciding how to invest. Okay? And investing is kind of like gambling in a way. You've got high risk investments or you've got low risk investments. So high risk investments, you could get a really nice payout, but the interest rates could change dramatically.
Isn't that like stocks?
Yes, stock market, real estate, okay? So if something really shoots up, your interest rate that you earn could go from like 6% to 25%. And depending on how much money you invest, that's a lot.
For the virus, so the stock if it has dividends.
And low risk investments, those are things like a savings account at a bank. Okay? I mean, the bank's not going to go out of business. Okay, especially if it's a big established bank. But they're not going to give you much of an interest rate. You may get like 3%. Okay, so you're not going to make very much, but you're not going to risk losing your investment. Whereas here you're rolling the dice. It could pay out big, or you could lose a ton of money. So you've got to be very careful with how you do it. So like, for example, I just met with my financial planner last month. And there is, I have a whole bunch of investments for my retirement. And you can choose the risk that you want to put forward, to put your investments into. So it can be, I can't remember the names of it. There was one called, I think, balanced. Balanced means, yeah, you got a little bit of risk, but you're also pretty safe. Aggressive means that you're obviously going to invest in more volatile things. Okay. Now, does that mean you could lose all your money? Highly unlikely, but more possible than if you took a safe investment. So it's all, you know, it's all about what you want to do and what kind of person you are. If you just want to make some money and, you know, you just want to make it over time, then you're a low risk person. If you're somebody who wants to try and make an impact right away in the shortest period of time, you're a high risk person. Anyway, so you do have to be careful how you invest. And this is why, you know, you've got online investing that you can do, like E-Trade. And they always talk on commercials about how great it is because you don't have to pay any fees to a person who's going to help you. You can do it all online. But unless you know your stuff, you could take a bath on E-Trade. I mean, it's generally safer to go with somebody that knows something about the market. Or at the very least, talk to them first before you decide to do anything on your own. Because you need to have a lot of knowledge about stock market, real estate, if you want to try and do things on your own. Anyway, that's just a little blurb on investing.